Dear Mr. Lennon, from information I received while using a Ouija board, I believe that there will be an attempt to assassinate you. The spirit that gave me this information was Brian Epstein. He said the attempt was made in a place of March 6th, 17. Mr. Epstein also said that Paul McCartney was alive in London. Is that true? Please take this letter seriously, because I would very much prefer you to be alive in it.
You've made so much money and you've achieved so much success so early. Does this worry you?
It's not a worry, it's just saved us wasting our lives achieving it.
Yeah, you know, our thing just happens to be very condensed and speeded.
We chose a modern form of success.
Very quick, because 1 second we were just there doing that with that much money. The next second, what people normally take a lifetime to do, was just all there, suddenly just handed. And we didn't have to do anything for it.
Except for work.
Not a bit.
You know, we had to work and do songs and make records and that, but it didn't feel like anything to us.
Were you astonished, you and Ringo and George, by the overwhelming reaction to you here in the States?
Yeah, we're more astonished. We sort of knew what we were doing a bit in Britain, although even that astonished us. The most amazing thing was making it in America, because we thought they'll never like what we almost thought was imitation American music, which we were trying to do.
You always said that, you know, for the Beatles, you wanted that the Beatles wanted to take it.
Yeah.
Why?
Because Elvis was the biggest. We wanted to be the biggest, you know. Doesn't everybody, you know? We wanted to, say Paul and I wanted to be the Goffin and King of England. This was an old story, you know, because Goffin and King were writing this great stuff at that time. And then we decided, well, we're better than them, so we want to be this, you know, we want to be the world. It's just like, we want to be this, we want to be the next thing, you know, want to be president or whatever. Goes on and on and on. But we always wanted to be bigger than Elvis, because Elvis was the thing. Whatever we say, he was it.
You've been called England's greatest export.
He wants to get something or make something one way or another. And we chose a modern way of making it in the so-called relative making money and cars. Because obviously we didn't want to spend our lives to get to nowhere.
If you could take a pill to just get famous and rich, a lot of people would. You know? Ours was a bit like that.
Was this what you really wanted to do at first? You wanted to get rich? Was this?
Oh yeah, you know, I mean, that's what.
You just want to make it, whatever you do. You all set out, leaving school or whatever it is, and you want to make it. So you choose your field, and you make it, or you don't. People always said we were leading the 60s, you know, and changing everybody's hair and that. And we were standing up there looking different, but we were reflecting what was going on the streets in England and here too. Although the hair thing started in England. And what we really were figureheads for what was going on. So I never really claimed, we changed something, I'm not quite sure what it was, but we represented a change rather than were the instigators of the change. If whatever we wore was already on the street, we would just see it in a shop, buy it, or have it remade and go on stage with it. Mm-hmm. The haircuts just sort of happened almost. But we were just sort of part of the scene, but we were the figureheads, you know. We're the masthead on the boat. The boat was going on of its own accord. Mm-hmm. And we were just that thing stuck on the front.
And there was so much screaming and so much carrying on. And did that bother you at all when you were doing those concerts? That people couldn't hear your music, that all they heard was themselves screaming?
It got a little boring. I mean, it was great when it first happened. When you'd come on, there'd just be nothing but wah, you know. But then we just became like lip syncing, you know, miming. And sometimes things would break down and nobody'd know. And so it wasn't doing the music any good, you know.
When you guys were in the dressing rooms after these concerts, or when you were in the dressing room after the Ed Sullivan Show, where, my heavens, young people were just almost flinging themselves on stage.
Yeah.
Didn't you ever wonder, are these people crazy? Are we that good? Can we really produce this kind of reaction in people?
But I always said that we were like in the eye of the hurricane. So we were just in this little goldfish bowl in the middle, and one didn't really have time to think what was going on. It was just going on so fast. You just had to keep your eye on the road. That was about all you could do. Looking back at it, it's astonishing that I was part of it. I was one of those things that happened, like an Al Jolson or something. You know, it's already looking like history. It is. It's 10 years ago, nearly. And it's a strange feeling to look back on it. Say, oh, I was right in that. It was like being in the eye of a hurricane, and so there was never a time when you thought, what's going on? And that was about as deep as it got. What is happening, or what? You know, you'd suddenly wake up in the middle of a concert or a happening, and think, what? How did I get here? You know. The last thing I remember was playing music in a club, and the next minute this. But we never thought about it too much because it was an ongoing thing. It was happening to us, and it was hard to see. You know, we were just in the middle, being ushered from room to room. They say we changed the music, but we used the music that was already there. You can take half our melodies and do them in a 20 style. So it's hard to put your finger on what the change was. Maybe we were part of a movement where heroes were no longer from the upper classes, especially in Britain. You couldn't even get in a British movie unless you'd been to Oxford or something. I mean, it was ridiculous. Because having been in that sort of pop business so long and tried to retain myself throughout it, but obviously not always being successful at that, it was most uncomfortable when I didn't feel I was being myself. You know, when I would have to smile when I didn't want to smile. And it became like all that, like being a politician, you know. And after 10 or 15, almost 20 years of being under contract and having to produce two albums a year in the early days and a single every 3 months, regardless of what the hell else you were doing, or what your family life was like, what your personal life was like, nothing counted. You just had to get those songs out. Now, Paul and I turned out a lot of songs those days, and it was easier because it was the beginning of a relationship and career. Paul and I developed in public, as it were. We had a little rehearsal in private, but mainly we developed our abilities in public. But then it got to be format and sort of not the pleasure that it was, and that's when I felt that I'd lost myself. Not that I was on purposely being a hypocrite or a phony, but it took something away from what I set out to do. I started out to do rock and roll because I absolutely liked doing it. But you see, having gone through the Beatlemania thing, nowadays it's nothing like that. I mean, I can walk down the street and somebody just say, "Oh, hi, John," and they usually say, "How's your immigration?" You know, if it's in New York, right? And they don't hassle me. I might sign 1 autograph, 2 autographs. You know?
John, might I have your autograph? Yeah. Hey, I gotta shake your hand, man. What's up, man? I can't believe I met you. I swear to God. How come, when are the Beatles getting back together? Tomorrow. You're full of it. When are you getting back together? I love your album. I like your Blue album. Hey, what's that guy? Hey. I can't believe it.
And I don't get hassled. And I went through that period where I actually couldn't go anywhere. And so now it's like heaven. I can go and eat. We go and eat. We go to the movies. We go wherever we want. If there's an announcement, like there's an opening and everybody's going to be there, you get a lot of noise and cameras and flashbulbs. But if we just decide to go to dinner, it's cool. You know? And what I really got through this 5 years was I'm not running for office. I like to be liked. I don't like to offend people. I would like to be a happy, contented person. I don't want to have to sell my soul again, as it were, to have a hit record. I've discovered that I can live without it, and it makes it happier for me. But I'm not going to come back in and try and create a persona who would not be myself. I reckon now if I went out, not as the Beatles, but just Yoko and I went out with the group, then people wouldn't be screaming, you know, and because our records are better now, I think, and more mature, and I think the audience will be more mature too. That's what I'm hoping. I don't want any of that jazz, you know.
You've said somewhere you said you'd like to be forgotten, but now you say you'd like to go out and perform again, so you can't really have
well, I can still be forgotten when I'm dead. I don't really care what happens when I'm dead, if that's what you mean.
Routine.
Well, you get the big prize when you get cancer and you've been drawing circles.
And then die,
for 20
right.
years. And then the biggest one is when you die, but
Yeah.
they give you a pretty big one for dying in public.
That's
Okay,
it.
so those are the things that we're not interested in.
Dear Mr. Lennon, from information I received while using a Ouija board, I believe that there will be an attempt to assassinate you. The spirit that gave me this information was Brian Epstein.
He said the attempt we made in a place in March 6th, 70, and Mr. Epstein also said that Paul McCartney was alive in London. Is that true? Please take this letter serious because I would very much prefer you to be alive then.
But this bit of...